them all around. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to the Friday edition of Down and Dirty. I'm one of your hosts, Mario Nunez, alongside my broadcast partner.
Good morning, Mario. John Dingfelder. How are you, sir?
Johnny D, how are you feeling, man? How was your week?
Your Dragon alumni shirt today.
I'm going to be attending an event just after this with some Dragon alumni, and you know, this year marks 50 years, which is impossible for me to imagine.
Remind us who the Dragons are.
The Dragons are the Jefferson Dragons, as it were. There we go, class of 2001. I'm looking at them right there. I'm class of 76. You know, the original three
is
schools.
That old Jefferson?
He
or
buried
new
that.
Jefferson?
I'm class of 76.
How
Old
about that?
Jefferson
Buried
or
the lead.
new Jefferson?
No, that's the new Jefferson, which has now been in existence longer than the old Jefferson. Hard to believe, right?
There you go.
But how about this one? 50 years ago, fall of August of 73, the school on Cypress opened its buildings, opened its doors to three classes, right?
73.
73. So I'm class of 76. It's impossible for me to believe that it's been 50 years,
You were
5
like
decades.
the first class in that building.
That graduated all 3 years attending school at that building.
Very cool.
It is kind of cool. So that's why I'm wearing my alumni shirt. And what are you wearing, by the way?
What am I wearing? I don't
shirt.
even know.
Your
I'm
Under
the man in black.
I
He
like
has
it.
to protect his
I like
house.
it. He
Johnny
he
Cash.
just got up and came down here this morning. Listen, we're glad that you guys are there listening to us today because we've got a special show, couple of guests in studio. We're going to be talking all things City of Tampa as it pertains to the budget.
And more.
And much, much more. The youngster today woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So if you guys leaning in, turn your radio up right about now. Because Jason Marlowe, who's our chief engineer, behind the other side of the board here, I can almost see the top of his head there. Hey, Jason.
I got two barrels loaded for two terrible elected officials right now.
Ought something in his gun belt, and he's got more. I understand. So you know, if he runs out with the two,
I'm like Rambo with the M240.
he's coming out of the water.
Are we doing our pet peeves
I
this
think
morning?
we should.
we are.
I think we should. We always start off with our pet peeves.
All right.
It's Friday. Jason,
so I'm
go
going to
first.
be very candid. Yesterday, for those who aren't familiar, we almost lost all funding for the arts in Hillsborough County. Donna Cameron Cepeda, who, I guess she woke up and remembered she was a county commissioner yesterday morning. She went after the $3 million, which is paltry compared to, the funding that our local artists and nonprofits could use to, serve as a better economic engine for our region. She tried to kill all of it. And it took dedicated citizens and 4 quality county commissioners to stop her. We came a razor's edge away from losing all the funding in the arts in the county.
What was her basis for offering this?
She wanted to use that money for infrastructure improvements. Now, just consider, at $3 million, City of Tampa just the other day said it costs about approximately $1 million for a mile of sidewalk. So 3 miles of sidewalk versus all of the funding for the arts in our county. That's Gasparilla Arts Festival. That's Gasparilla Music Festival. That's tons of Tampa Theater, Tampa Players.
What's the ROI on that $3 million? I don't know.
And you
like
said,
$21 million.
Thank you.
And you said that Ken Hagan stepped up?
Yeah, Ken Hagan stepped up. The Cultural Assets Commission is his baby. He helped start that, in
Film Commission,
the Paleozoic era when he first started his career. And he fought for it valiantly, and to his enormous credit, he stood with normal. He reminds us what normal Republicans look like.
With Pat Kemp and Harry
Glenn
Cohen
Myers and Harry Cohen.
right.
Yes, credit to all 4.
All right, good job.
Big John?
You're up.
I'm up. Okay, I'll go. This is a beauty before age. So how about Spectrum? Can we talk about Spectrum for just a couple of minutes? Can we talk about Spectrum and ESPN and Disney? Can we talk about right at the beginning of football season, they want to pull the plug, and now Spectrum, is not providing us with that content because they're claiming that they're, sideways with Disney, and henceforth they want to try to keep our bills down, which I don't know how they do that because it doesn't happen regardless. But, I went with Spectrum because I can get 636. I can get TBAE on that channel, and that's the only way I can watch the Tampa Native Show on my big 55. So I'm wondering, Spectrum, really? At this point in time?
So the question is, do you need to watch the Tampa Native Show after you just made it?
Sometimes. Sometimes. It's like going back and listening to this show. You want to critique yourself.
I'm just teasing you.
Of course.
I listen to the show after we make the show.
Well, yeah, you make the cake. You want to taste the cake after you've made the cake, right? Make sure that everything went well.
So you're baking your cake and you're eating it too?
Spectrum.
My mother and I came across the Tampa Native Show the other day on her TV, and she said, "Who's that cute man?"
Thank you.
There you go.
I appreciate it. JD, what got stuck in your craw
And I
this
said
week?
it was your guest that was on that day.
I love it.
Savage.
Love it.
Where's my bell?
Here it is.
Where's my bell?
What got stuck in your craw this week,
You know
Johnny?
what? Nothing stuck in my craw. A lot of things to be thankful for. That hurricane came by,
Blew us a kiss.
and blew us a kiss, and we're all just so lucky again and again and again. But it reminds us that the world is warming. And,
Oh my gosh.
And we got to be ready for it because we're not going to be so lucky someday. But anyway, I don't want to be doom and gloom.
No, it's Friday.
Just made reservations to go visit my grandchildren.
That's happening?
A couple of weeks from now. And,
New York.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Good.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's all good.
All right. Listen, Jace, want to rock and roll?
Yeah, I'll be very quick. Just phooey on Jane Castor, and we're gonna end it. I'm gonna end my pet peeves with that. But just the audacity to take shots at Sandy Freeman as she did yesterday, just genuinely undignified. And I guess we'll, with that, we will sort of make a little bit of a segue. I guess.
Hit it. Start.
All right. Well, we've got some fantastic guests here today. Mario, we have Patrick Montega, who's the owner and CEO and president and editor and everything else at La Gazzetta newspaper, which just last year celebrated its 100th anniversary. Patrick, welcome.
Standing O.
Yeah, we are thrilled to have you. And Patrick writes a column following in his father and grandfather's footsteps, writes a column every week called As We Heard It. And Patrick has his ear to the ground. And we're going to talk about a lot of things this week.
Well, and I'm thankful that we have Mayor Jane Castor because she gave me a lot to write about in the past,
5 years, 4
nice
years.
to have, a villain in the town that you can write about.
And here we go.
You didn't get enough of Bob Buckern, so
Yeah, Bob, I'm okay with Bob, but
And we also have Stephanie Pointer in the studio. Stephanie is, for those of you who aren't familiar what SOG is, the SOGs live south of Gandy, and Stephanie is the queen of the SOGs. And as of last year or the year before, became.
That doesn't sound. I just got to be honest with you. Like, we're gonna stop for a second. That doesn't sound great. Like, I feel like you deserve better than to be the queen of the SOGs. Like, what?
Queen of the SOGs.
The queen of the SOGs. They're a primordial people. They escaped the swamp, and now
she is leading. You know what? SOGs. We'll talk about it when we get Stephanie on. But SOGs have not been treated well over the years.
This is true.
And Stephanie stepped up 4 or 5 years ago and just gave the SOGs a voice. And then somebody convinced her to get involved in THAN, which is Tampa Homeowners Association of Neighborhoods. And now she's president of all the neighborhoods in the city of Tampa. Welcome, Stephanie Pointer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hold on. We got a mic problem.
Do we? Check 1 2. Check.
Try
check
it again,
1 2.
Steph.
Yeah. No, that little.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
We
that's
can.
better.
Yeah.
Stay close to the
I'm
mic.
sorry. I'm president of THAN. I'm here speaking as Stephanie Pointer, not the president of THAN,
Okay.
because we have to vote on things in order to be organization leaders. And so, unlike Patrick, who can say what he wants to say because he's the boss, I have to rein it in and keep remembering that I only represent myself in these situations.
Well, you're the boss of the household, of your household.
Oh, absolutely.
I know that.
Yes.
And congratulations sending off your your oldest child to college this week.
Yes.
Wow.
He's moved to the dorm and in good graces.
Steph, are you an original SOG? Are you original south of Gandy? Did you go to Robinson High School?
I am a product of all over the place.
Okay.
A single mom who moved all over the place. My husband's was active duty military, and we moved to McDill 11 and a half years ago.
There you go.
So he's retired now, and I aggravate.
Listen, the community's coming back. I mean, I know it gets maligned a lot, and there's south of Gandy, there's north of Gandy, Nog, and then there's south of Kennedy, right? And there's a whole bunch of funny acronyms that decipher the code, and you know where people are from. But the truth of the matter is that community down there in Port of Tampa is also just coming back. It's starting to
Very much so.
Yeah,
we've had a lot of development in the last 4 years. So, but the nice part about it is that we are gathering a community that is willing and able and feels comfortable speaking up for themselves.
And that's where the rubber meets the road, right? The activism within the community itself. So
The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Stephanie, we're so proud of everything you do in
kudos
the
to
community.
Stephanie. Kudos to
Patrick,
Stephanie.
what happened this week?
Well, City Council showed some backbone and stared down the mayor over a huge increase in property taxes.
What was she looking for?
You know, she wanted a 30% gain in property tax collections from last year to this year. She was looking for a mill increase. You know, and a lot of people don't understand property taxes. They don't understand how this thing works. And so, you know, generally you should start off with the premise that, you know, if we kept the same revenues as we had the year before, you know, that's keeping the budget the same. And then if you want to, you know, you can increase it. And so generally you start with a rollback rate is what you think about, and that's rolling back millage so you collect the same. Then after that, if you keep millage the same, then that's going to be an increase in property taxes because everybody knows in Florida, you know, values of properties are going up. And we're also having new construction, which brings on more property taxes. And then, and what she wanted was actually to add a mill. And adding a mill is rare anywhere in this state. You know, somebody ought to have a mill or a quarter mill.
If she had kept the status quo, okay, and without the mill increase,
Right.
how much additional money would that have generated more than what they had last year?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. So in 2022, we collected $312 million in property taxes. Had we kept the mill the same this year, we collect $351.
$40 million.
A 12.3% increase.
Yeah.
She wanted an additional mill, which made it a 30.39% increase. And this is also not the entire city budget. This is a piece of the budget. They get taxes from your cell phones. They get taxes from your electric bill.
The
they
total
get taxes from everything.
approaches is almost $2 billion.
Well, last year's actual amount of money we took in was $2.3 billion, which is actually more than her proposed budget this year. But when you start to look at it, in 2018 through 19, we took in as total revenue in the city $1.4 billion. Now we're at $2.3 billion. That's an increase of 54%.
Jeez.
And so the mayor said, this isn't enough. I got to have more increase. And so it really is just managing your money. I mean, you know, we all have homes. You know, we know that we could, you know, you want a new coat of paint, you want a new pool, you want to put some terrazzo on the decking, but you have to pick and choose what you want. If you got a leaky sink, you fix that first. In this case, we've been spending money on some you know, projects that really aren't needed. The $120 million we just spent on Hannah Avenue, an administration building, was you know, money we could have spent on roads.
The Taj Mahal and Hannah. Mario, this increase was at a time when other things are going up. Like what?
Everything.
Well, thank you.
You know?
Yeah, everything.
Like utilities, electric bill.
Rent. I don't know. You know, we all have young people in our lives, right? I mean, your daughter, our sons.
I'm right here.
And the whipper.
I'm literally right here.
And the whippersnapper that I can't see but I can hear. He's on the other side of the panel. I'm wondering, to be honest, how they, you know, look at this because, okay, so my theory on all of this is that we just keep printing more money and we keep devaluing the dollar, so the dollar doesn't represent anything. $5 to us back when we were young whippersnappers was a significant amount of money. We could fill up our gas tank and probably still have a couple dollars left to go get lunch at Mickey D's. Now $20 represents that $5, and it means like the $100 is like the $20 used to be. I'm just wondering, at what point does this stop?
$5 was, I think, my allowance. What do you give your kids, Steph?
Well, that's what we got when we cut the grass.
Way more than five.
When we cut the neighbor's yard, we were happy with a $5 with a fin, right? With a $5 bill.
There you go.
And now you can't even do anything with it.
You know what blows my mind? When I was a kid, I thought like $1 million would buy you like the world's biggest mansion. And then I read like just yesterday in Manatee County, like last year, for a major intersection, it was $1 million for one stoplight.
One stop, one.
I'm like, okay. So like when I was a kid, it was like, I am the lap of luxury, $1 million. I'll never need money again. And now it's like one stoplight.
Well, that's
like, okay.
Inflation. That's Austin Powers. That's Dr. Evil. $1 million.
Yeah, they all laugh at him.
$1 million. What do you mean? Been asleep for 50 years?
Mario, are we taking calls today?
We are taking calls today, and we've already got a couple of callers. We see you there, callers. Hang tight, because we're coming at you in a minute. But let me give you that number in case you don't know what it is by now. It's 813-239-9663. You can email us, dj@wmnf.org. I'm standing by, so I'll be getting your emails. Or you can text us, because I say it each and every week. That's what the kids are doing today. They're texting at
true.
813-433-0885. We want to hear from you. This is a very important topic today that we're discussing, and we need your input.
So we had an unusual phenomena in regard to this budget hike or tax hike that Mayor Castor wanted. And that is, Patrick, you wrote against it. Mm-hmm. The Tampa Bay Times editorialized against it, I think, once or twice. Stephanie, you are also the vice chair, perhaps,
No,
or
I'm just-
you're
I'm
okay.
just on the committee.
You're a member of the city council citizens budget
Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
something like that.
I just call it the budget committee. That's what I'm
Seven of you, and you majority voted against the mayor's tax hike. So, Patrick, why did you opine against it? And Stephanie, talk to us in a minute about the Times in your group.
Opine.
You know, you should look at government over the span of a few years and take a look at it. So we've been having increases in revenue that are pretty steady. And I know that we've been spending some money on projects that are pretty but not necessarily necessary. And I know that our mayor has been ignoring roads in hopes that we would get some special tax, and that way she could afford all her pretty projects. But she counted her chickens before they were hatched. And so she spent all the money we had on pretty projects, and then she comes back and says there's an emergency issue with roads. The other thing is, I know that we have a tax coming up next year that we would like to, I think would be wise to renew, the CIT tax. It's helped build a lot of libraries.
Community improvement tax. We passed it 29 years ago.
Yeah, it built a stadium. It built a whole lot of things in this town. And to me, it's a better tax down the road because 30% of the people who pay for it don't live here. They're tourists. And it would help all the governments, and they all kind of hook together. So the Tampa fixing its roads doesn't really work if Hillsborough County doesn't fix its roads, and Temple Terrace and Plant City don't fix their roads. And
What
so,
was the CIT? Was it 1 cent?
half cent. And so I would hate to see us ruin that campaign by overtaxing Tampa residents this year. And so to me, it was the wrong play. Also, I know that we've had some increases. We moved all of the stormwater money out of the city's general revenues. We create a special tax with it. And so that's kind of like, the Cold War ending. You should get a smaller army and get some benefit. So we moved it all out, but all of a sudden we need more money, even though all those things are being paid by a separate tax. And so when you look at it all, we were just spending without over our means. Every year we were going to need 15, 20% more money at this rate. You can't live that way.
Yeah.
And so the city needs to rein in its spending. It needs to make better decisions. And I think we can get these roads repaired. I think that we've got 400 people that she's hired in the last 4 years. They don't pick up garbage. They don't arrest people. They don't put out fires. These people move papers and think. And I just don't know if I can afford that many people moving papers and
which
thinking.
are also the highest paid people. Mario, you got a caller, then we'll get to you, Steph.
Steph, hang on. We're going to get to these callers because they've been waiting for a minute, and today's topic is so hot. We're getting emails as well, so we'll be reading those in just a few minutes. Coming now to Enzo in Tampa. Is that correct, Enzo? Are you there?
Yes. Hi. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Good,
morning,
thank you.
Enzo.
Enzo.
I know Enzo.
Okay. If you knew Enzo. Enzo, what say you on this topic today? Weigh in.
Well, I hope this is all right because I heard your as a South of Gandy lady, and she's in charge of neighborhoods. I think you said.
Stephanie is here. Yes.
Yep.
And I thought maybe I should chime in on the Trader Joe's situation because it's a real problem trying to get past Swan Avenue if you're heading across Del Mabry there. It's dangerous, and it just seems ludicrous to me that there's not some type of a protection there, maybe a someone directing traffic because it's very difficult to get past that store. And I'm wondering who the heck approved that.
So, Enzo, I can answer that, or maybe Stephanie can answer it, but I think I can answer it because I was around on council at that point. That used to be a women's exercise club.
Louisa's.
I know,
Louisa's Health Spa.
Right. And so it was, and then so it was retail, okay, and then they came in and they never came to council. They didn't ask for a rezoning. They didn't ask for anything from city council. They went right through the administration, whichever administration it was at that point, and were able to switch from that. They said they had adequate parking, and
right.
and we all know that it didn't turn out that way. But in council's defense, it never came to city council. It was just an administrative decision to allow them to switch the use.
And I think one of the problems that folks neglect to understand about that particular situation, it used to be 3 or 4 houses across the street. Well, they've torn all those down, they've done lot splits, and they've built huge houses across the street. So initially when Trader Joe's went in there, the traffic was bad, but it wasn't horrific. But because of the lot splits and the new folks living across the street, it's changed the dynamics of the neighborhood.
It's Mad Max.
Yeah,
it's basically Mad Max down there.
It's terrible.
Enzo, it's good to hear from you. What else you got, Mario?
Thank you so much for your comment, Enza. So, and if I could just weigh in on that too, that just right there's a Chick-fil-A, and the Chick-fil-A they post somebody outside to direct traffic in the heavy business hours at noon, and then just down the street is Wright's Gourmet Shops out a little bit further south, and they had to put a barrier in the roadway in the middle to keep people from making that left-hand turn to go east to go to Wright's off of Dale Mabry because it was just making quite a mess of traffic. So let's go to our next caller. That's what I have to say about all of that. And I tell you what, we've got to fix it.
Right sandwich now. So bad.
They're so good.
God.
So Lynn, I believe you're on the air with us. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Is this the Lynn we think who it is?
Yes, it is Councilwoman Lynn Hertak.
Hey. Yeah, hit that bell.
Hi,
Our
Lynn.
hero.
Lynn, do you have any thoughts on this budget thing?
I mean,
Go ahead, Lynn.
Y'all said that I could call in this morning, and I just wanted to say, that basically what you all said is what at least I was thinking. The amount of money we were bringing in was just so much that I couldn't justify raising people's taxes to pay for things that we need, but we didn't do ahead of time. And, I really admire the mayor for wanting to fix everything, but it's just simply not realistic to be able to fix the entire city's backlog in 8 years. And I really admire her ability to get the pipes program going, to do the stormwater. Those are things that we really needed to get done. But those have added taxes already to people. And so to add more taxes on top of that, plus everybody's home values going up, TICO, water, it just, car insurance, gosh, home insurance, everybody's home insurance has gone up. And it just seemed kind of like the perfect storm. And as you all said, the fact that we did not get the offer transportation money is really awful. But that money was going to come from everyone who visited the county. Whether you lived here or not, where this tax was simply going to be on the folks who live here.
So, Lynn, we call ourselves down and dirty. So I'm going to throw something at you. It's very nice of you to say nice things about the mayor, a mayor who worked very, very hard to try and get you not reelected, not elected to the position you were at 3 or 4 months ago. She and her PAC spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to defeat you. And fortunately, the citizens of Tampa, because you are citywide, saw through that and elected you a good person.
Overwhelmingly, might I add.
Any comments?
I think you have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, I don't disagree, but I still have to work with her for the next 4 years and her administration. And I mean, even before I was on council, I thought those were good ideas. Like, I don't have a problem taxing myself. I really don't. I'm one of those weird people that on tax day, I'm always thinking about the things that I'm happy to pay my taxes for. And I'm happy to pay for stormwater because we live in one of the worst possible places for storms. You know, water levels coming up. Like, I'm happy to tax ourselves for pipes. We need that. I'm happy, and I not only voted for, but advocated for altered transportation both times.
Well, listen, Lynn, Stephanie is here, and during the meeting last Tuesday, Stephanie was telling me earlier that you were just leading the charge to make sure that this tax hike did not pass. Stephanie, what do you got to say?
Absolutely. Well, I have to agree with Lynn. Bottom line is, you come into this thinking, okay, we may have to pay a little bit more in taxes. Everybody's okay with that. What I was not okay with is, don't tell me that you're going to hire 30 police and 30 fire and it's not in the budget. Don't tell me that you're going to spend all this money on paving when the paving budget has been the same since 2021 and all the way out through 2028. It's still sitting at $4.1 million. Don't tell me that you want to spend money on parks when you didn't spend the money you had last year. So they have
disingenuous.
Absolutely.
$165,000 for a lobbyist liaison, $500,000 to renovate the
position.
lobby. Yeah, I mean, like, come on, like we're talking almost $1 million there on two. These are not even needs; these are like wants.
You have to have a new lobby for a new
Or
lobbyist.
T-Mob.
Yeah.
Not for city council building where all the people come and spend time in broken chairs.
Right.
Yeah, truly.
Hold on 1 second. Patrick's chomping at the bit. Pat, we're all political junkies. We care about good government. We're also political junkies. What's the political ramification of all this? I mean, the mayor stuck her neck out. Seems like she's getting slapped back a few times recently.
Quack, lame dog.
Before this election, everybody loved Jane Castor. Her popularity was huge. I was probably one of her few critics. I mean, I've had a problem with this administration for quite a while. And so the last election cycle, she hurt herself. She came out as mean against Lynn and others and really manipulative, and it hurt her. There's people who were very supportive of her who are now a little bit standoffish.
Bill Carlson and Lynn Hertag.
But she had supporters who saw through her. They thought she was a good person. All of a sudden, they see that her way she was acting, and it was not a good way. This has hurt her even further because it made people dig so deep in the budget that we realized she has been writing checks to people and giving huge pay raises and hiring people left and right and doing the shiny projects and not the dirty
the down and dirty
stuff that we need. And so at the end of the day, I think people will look at these past 4 years and say they haven't been very good years. Luckily for us, we got sunshine and we got a great town, and people just come here in spite of our
and a Super Bowl
failures.
and a Stanley Cup. I think that helped her too, to be honest.
Isn't one of the things, Patrick, that is a hallmark of a good community, a solid community where there's participation on all sides, is stewardship, forgive me, good stewardship, solid stewardship of the coffers, right? You get that tax money, and you want to make sure that you're doling it out where it needs to go. If you're joining us now, you're listening to Down and Dirty with Mario Nunez and John Dingfelder on WMNF Community Radio 88.5.
Is Lynn still on there?
We're gonna bid her adieu because we've got another caller that we need to get to. But thank you, Lynn, for all of your work and for calling us today and sharing your commentary.
We'll have you on soon.
Yeah, because I need help cutting $45 million.
We're going to find it.
I'll find you.
Thank you,
We're
Lynn.
going to find it.
Thank you very much. Patrick, you were about to say.
Just to kind of put this in perspective, in 2015, during Bob Buckhorn's administration, the proposed budget was $876 million that he went to city council with.
Wow.
At that time, we had 371,000 people in the city of Tampa. The proposed budget this year that Castor went with is $1.92 billion, a 119% increase from 2015. Our population during that time has grown 6.3%. We're not the county. It isn't like, oh my gosh, we've added 100,000 people. We really haven't had any people, and most of the development has been infill development, which actually makes it cheaper to deliver services when the whole block is full of houses as opposed to having holes in it. And so, the thought that this city had to double its budget and the population went up 7% is bizarre when you start to think about it.
Yeah.
We haven't doubled our police force. We haven't doubled this. And I understand there's cost of living increases, but we all have them. And we far stripped cost of living increase issues and just really created this hyperinflation of city government that has to end.
Well, we have on top of that, we don't just have the poor spending habits. We have fees for the city that haven't been raised in 30, 40, 50 years. So we have issues with, I'm sorry, but it costs more now to do the same thing that we did in 2020 and 2000. You can't ignore that and walk away from it. And that ranges from everything from Parks and Rec all the way across the board to the water department, construction development. Last week, somebody let me know that a plan development change, a comp plan change, costs the city charges $1,000 to do that. It costs the city $3,000. The county charges $8,000 to do it.
And it's the same $1,000 they've been charging for a long time.
Yes, and none of that has ever gotten passed on to the consumer. And the problem is, why should I as a taxpayer have to make up the difference? I didn't take them to raise.
The credit card fees.
Oh, yeah, the credit card fees. Yes, absolutely. They have not been for the water company. If you call in to pay your water bill with your credit card, the city is eating that 3%. It's over $1 million a year.
I remember that.
Let's go back to the callers. Yeah, we've got John on the line with us, and John has been patiently waiting from Palmetto. John, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. What say you about today's topic?
Well, I've had to listen to not had to listen. I don't mean that.
There you go. It's a weird way to start out, John.
For that coming out wrong.
Weird way to start out.
No, it didn't come out completely wrong. No, but really, everybody there is to blame, along with it. It's one fix: impact fees. Now, impact fees are supposed to cover the impact. I've been a reporter for years, and I've been sat in a lot of different counties. And they all. I mean, I've heard even on you guys talk about growth and how good their growth is, and it's good for getting more people. It's only going to hurt us if you don't have sufficient impact fees to cover what the impact.
Truth.
The impact goes from there's no aspect in which the impact does. When we sit there and stroke these developers, and we look for land developers we're creating our own mess. And it's not going to be. You're not going to do it by shuffling a few cards and fix it and trying to fix this or that because they're hot button issues. I'll just take for instance the water. We don't really have that much water problems. We've just given so much away, and we've invested so much in alternative sources that's always eating. It's always eating more than we can ever get back to us. But if you're not going to raise the impact fees, and we're not going to sit down and not grow for a few years and work on the people that are here.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, and for people who are listening and don't know, impact fees basically get passed on to the people who are arriving new to this area.
Who are making an impact on services.
Typically, they're the ones who are buying the new houses. The new houses have the impact fees on them. I've got no problem with that. And as a matter of fact, I tried pushing for impact fees increases and new impact fees like the public safety impact fees.
And that has been debated. I mean, I think that was Charlie and Lewis were both having conversations about that. I mean, I think the public support for something like that is there, but
totally.
I just don't know why. I mean, like so much of this, and I don't mean to cut our call off, but it feels like so much of this is political malpractice by the mayor. That this was poorly organized and thought through.
Well, it's going to impact. I've said impacts are far, far more than we've been digging a big hole with them. It's not something you would have to more than double them. But what you need to do is to start assessing what it actually costs. And that'll scare you enough to where people will put their pen back away and quit writing checks.
John, as you know, the builders and the legislatures in Tallahassee fight anything having to do with impact fees. And anytime local government tries to do something along those lines, we hear from Tallahassee, and they end up preempting us. Thanks for your call, man.
Thank you so
can't
much,
change
John.
them till
We appreciate your
2025.
participation. Thank you, John.
We're not allowed to change impact fees until any construction-related fees because of Ian. They cannot be changed until 2025, state statute.
Oh, they put a hold on it?
Yes, they put a hold on them. But the thing about it is, I asked last week, where are the impact fees? Who takes the impact fees? At what point do they get processed? Who in the city is the person who does the processing of impact fees? I got a big, long memo from the legal department. So I'm not done with that, but I've been busy with this budget. So, and I know Councilman Dingfelder, when he was councilman, he asked in June of 2021, hey, how about some public safety impact fees?
Sure, remember the
And in
month.
October, no, because I was told I was wrong, so I had to look it up. And in October, the chief of staff came back to city council and said, oh, we don't need those. Well, here we are. We need them. We needed them then, and we need them now because we don't have the money to pay for this stuff. And why should the citizens who've lived here for years? One of the big things about this this tax increase proposal that people forgot, and I think Nori Miller. No. I'm sorry. I've totally screwed it up. My name's wrong. That was way wrong. Bottom line is that we've got folks who live in certain parts of the city. If you start looking at their tracts, they haven't paid their taxes for this year.
Yeah.
How can we put a burden on those folks, even if it's $4 a month, $6 a month, when those people don't have the money to pay the taxes themselves?
I mean, my TICO bill last month was $414.
Exactly.
Reminding everybody, if you'd like to get in on this conversation, now's the time as we're rapidly coming to the end of the third quarter of this show. 813-239-9663. Email us, and I'm going to read a couple of emails in just a moment. DJ@WMNF.org. Text us at 813-433-0885. One of our emails this morning comes in, says, I believe it's misleading, but please clarify. You say 30% increase in property tax. How much percentage is the city tax of the total property tax we pay in Hillsborough County? What is the net increase because of the city's 30% increase? Can anyone speak to that?
If you take a look at your trim notice, the last two columns, the yellow and the green column on your trim notice, it is specifically divided out, and it can show you that. I mean, I don't think we'd
You'd have
be
to have
very
one to look
smart
at right here.
Try and discuss that at length, but those last two columns, and there's a row in there that says
It says
Tampa.
city, it says city, it says
Tampa.
county, it says
Right.
library, it says
Exactly.
this, it says that.
But those two, that row will tell you exactly the difference between what Patrick is saying and what the mayor was wanting.
And Stephanie, everybody's already receiving that tax bill. They're in the
But I
mailbox
have
right
to
now.
warn you, the trim notice doesn't tell you the whole story. The stormwater charges are not on your trim notice.
Right.
In my case, I own a commercial building. I pay, I think, around $1,800 worth of stormwater fees that just don't appear as a tax. Also,
But I think
if you're in a
Pastor
CDC,
targeted your building for that.
absolutely, she saw it on Google Earth,
You
and
were
she said,
redlined.
"I am going to get that guy. He's got a
Said he
big
didn't have
roof.
any grass."
He's in trouble." And so you have CDCs up in North Tampa. You got special tax districts in the county. You've got garbage that's on your property tax bill. You've got a stormwater charge there, and all those had increases, but they're not seen on your trim notice.
And your water and sewer bill goes up every single year for 30 years.
Yeah. And so I was looking at a trim notice today because I got a bunch of trim notices around the city as I was doing my research. And I was looking at one, and their total taxes was $4,000, but $600 of it wasn't on the trim notice.
Right.
It was down below the line of what appears on a trim notice. So that's about 18%, 19% of their taxes just they don't even are aware of until they get the bill.
Sneaky.
How about taking another quick
There
call,
you
shall
go.
we?
Go for it.
Because today we have hit a nerve today apparently because people are calling in and want to make comment on this. So caller, we're coming to you now. Apparently this gentleman's name is Guido. Is that correct? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, I'm Guido, citizen in West Tampa. I work downtown.
We don't recognize that name at all.
Councilman Guido Maniscalco, welcome to our show.
All my
He's a
heroes are
golden
calling
boy
in.
this week for me.
Guida Maniscalco. Do I have that correct?
Chairman Guido
Thank you.
Maniscalco.
Get it right, JD.
Put some respect on his name.
One of the 4 votes against this tax. Welcome, Guido.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? I've been listening, and it's been a very interesting week, and listening from the feedback, post-mortem, post-Tuesday, from everything that we've heard. And we have to keep in mind it wasn't just Tuesday, and public comment that we received, but since the budget was proposed, and by the mayor at the beginning of August, it was like a 24/7 cycle of emails, 99% against. And when people got their trim notices a couple weeks ago, I think that's when the sticker shock really hit a lot of folks. And then, the communication kept coming. And then with that, the Times was very critical until the day of, Tuesday morning or online. It was out a little bit before how they were opposed to it. And, they look at the data, like I said, I know we have Mr. Mantega there. They were opposed to it. You had neighbors, some neighborhood groups opposed to it, individual people, business leaders. There was just, I've never seen in my time on council something so unpopular. And you can ask the question of when is the right time to raise taxes, but 2016 when we did stormwater, 2018 when a millage was increased, when it was proposed and whatnot, you didn't have the housing crisis, you didn't have the insurance crisis, you didn't have the inflation, you didn't have the, Jason mentioned the PICO bill. Mine almost doubled. I mean, it's just one thing after another, especially in the summer. My car insurance, renewed in June. That went up another $50 a month. And then, special assessments, all this stuff. And I think people they're struggling, It doesn't matter if someone's rich, poor, middle class. People, they have to pay those bills. And it's coming out of somewhere. And, it's very impactful. So, we have to live within our means. We have to tighten our belts. We need to sharpen our pencils. And, there's needs and wants. And we just have to be, careful with every dollar moving forward. And that's really it.
So, Mr. Chairman, next Wednesday, I think it is, you have another budget workshop. And the administration, I think, is not being very cooperative. And they're basically saying, okay, if you're not going to pass our budget, then you go ahead and figure it out yourselves. How are you going to maneuver that? How are you going to manage that?
So I've been, we had a city council meeting all day yesterday, and then in the evening, I spent till 11 o'clock last night sitting down with what kind of options we could look at. So, personnel costs and any new positions that were being proposed in this budget.
I think there's 30 something new positions, right?
We have to see those positions. We have to see what we can cut. We can also look at positions from the previous budget and look at positions that have been budgeted for and money allocated for, but that have been vacant for more than 6 months. Looking at possibly eliminating those because payroll costs add up very quickly. I've mentioned the reserves. It's unpopular. It might be something we could look at, whatever it is, but we have our credit and bond ratings that are, AAA and whatnot. It's deeper than that. But how much can we look at taking from the reserve while maintaining the minimum that's required without affecting our credit and bond ratings? That's going to be several $1 million. Try to look everywhere before just, going to the millage increase. It's so easy to say, raise the millage, we need funds. That's not the responsible way of doing business because it's the public's money, and we now we have to scrutinize everything. And there's just a lot of questions like we're going to pave the roads with this millage increase, but the paving budget was decreased. We're going to hire police and fire 30 officers here, 30 officers, 30 and 30. That's not in the budget, but it's how it works is with the police. It's kind
of smoke and mirrors, I would say, is what they were proposing. In regard to the reserves, Guido, it's funny. I was looking at that last night as well. I really admire the CFO over there, Dennis Rogero. Dennis likes to be very conservative, which is good. but they were pushing for a 23% reserve, whereas their guidelines only speak to 20% reserve.
Exactly.
Over reserve.
The 3%, what by my calculation amounted to like $15-20 million of savings in the budget by itself.
Yep.
So if you reduce it down to 20%, you still have a huge reserve fund for hurricanes or any other emergencies that come up.
That's true, but we also have to look at a couple of factors. And why is Tampa and the Tampa Bay area unique? You can say, well, what happens if there's a recession? Look at housing prices, look at inflation, look at the demand for people coming here. I don't think from one year to the next, when we have a 13% increase in property tax revenue, let's say it drops to 10%, next year. We still have an increase, so we can always replenish in the reserves. We can always put money back. We can. We're trying to maneuver now. We're trying to approve a budget now before the end of the fiscal year, and try to get there as painless as possible without having to. We're going to have to. Under the Mayor administration, there were layoffs. It was a different scenario with the housing market crashing, lost revenues in the city. Councilmember Dingfelder, you were there. Very difficult situation. We're not in that situation. I think we can make responsible reallocations. We're not making budget cuts moving forward with this budget. We are reallocating and reassessing in the most responsible manner without having to go to the taxpayers for an increase and sacrificing the quality of services.
Patrick, do you agree?
He's absolutely right. We are not cutting the budget. We are increasing the budget from last year. We are going to be buying more. We are paying our staff more. The city is moving forward. This is not, the mayor just gave you a longer list. We're just reducing the list, but the list is still bigger than last year's list. So we've got more revenue. This isn't the city in trouble. This is not overspending. So Guido's got it right. If we started with last year's budget and started adding on to it, that might be an easier practice than trying to cut back on what she's written.
And the real issue is the administration refused to show where they put the money in the budget. The budget came to the budget committee and to city council. Well, it was presented, and then 6 days later, the budget was given to the folks. And so, 6 days when you're talking about 1,000 pages is a lot of time and a lot of energy that was deferred because they would not publish the document.
Sort of a lack of transparency.
just every single part of this.
The right thing to have done was, we get called in and we meet with, certain, people in the administration for our budget act. What should have been said and disclosed to us was, we just want you to know, we may be considering a millage increase. So, what you asked for, we may have to do X. And it wasn't disclosed until we sat down with with the mayor.
Wow.
And I'm thinking this is a big ask in the current economic climate of everything that I talked about earlier. Another thing that we haven't touched on, and I know Councilmember Miranda's brought it up and others, the CIT is going to expire in a few years. The CIT would have to be put on the ballot next year. And I don't want to jeopardize the possibility of the CIT failing, because if you look at 1996, I think the CIT passed by like 0.5% after failing before that. And
what does that generate? It generates a lot more than this thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
It generates a lot of money. It's a 30-year dedicated fund. How the county would allocate what percentage to the city, we will find out, should this be renewed. But we saw how All for Transportation did not pass. It's very delicate, the county commission could say, well, we're not going to put it on the ballot. Whatever they can do. But if we're going to be increasing the millage, increasing the economic impact on people, by next year, they could say, we need relief. We can't take it anymore, even though it's business as usual with the CIT. But the benefit of the CIT is 30-40% of that revenue is coming from people visiting our area. And tourism is good to this area. And those dollars help us to allocate money for police, fire, for our roads. The CIT can go to so much, and that's a precious lifeline. 30 years, if it's renewed,
it's
of
huge.
What we can commit to.
That's huge. Mr. Chairman, I hate to cut you off. We've got a couple minutes left in the show to wrap up. We appreciate all you do, and we appreciate your no vote the other night. Thank you.
Thank you, Guido.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. So we got one more caller, guys, real quick before we come to the close of the show. She's been waiting patiently for the last 10 minutes. Layla, did I pronounce that correctly? Are you there?
Yes, my name is actually pronounced Leela. I'm from Brandon. I feed the homeless for the last 15 years. We had 2 casualties in the last 2 weeks on our roads in Brandon. 2 females were killed on the, trying to cross the street, trying to cross Highway 60. Transportation is very important. I think that when I heard that, I think, and I may be incorrect, that there was a 10% increase proposed for 50% of the city employees by Mayor Castor. Maybe I have that incorrect. I was astonished that something like that would be even considered with the demise that we have throughout the county on infrastructure projects. But I applaud the fact that we did save the arts program. And I just think that we should go back and do an audit and publish that audit of all the employees, Hillsborough County and the city, and what they make per year, how long they've been with the government, and whether or not that's equitable to our regular citizens that are paying the tax bill for all of this. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
calling.
Thank you so much, Lita. That's some strong opinion right there. But it sounds to me like she knows what she's talking about. She's right.
Yeah. So we got some final words, Stephanie.
Well,
Final
where
words.
those numbers came from.
Well, not final, but for the day.
The 96 top money makers, the department heads and whoever works for them, of the 96, 51 of them will receive an increase of more than 10% in salary this
So if
year.
they're making 100,000, that's a cool 10,000.
We go higher.
Oh yeah. Just
that's-
for,
I mean-
for
That's a
round
good place
numbers.
to
Yeah,
cut.
it's a really nice place, and I love some of those people. I dearly love some of those people. But when I met with Chief Bennett 2 days ago, I said, isn't there like a rule in HR about you can't give half of your people those kind of increases? And he says, yeah, it's 10, 80, 10. And I'm like, well, then why is it 51 out of the top 96? That's my question. And so,
And how much money did that amount
that
to?
was just for those 96. It was like 1.4 million,
There you
which
go.
equals about a $1,400 a month increase.
And those people are
That
already
was
making
average.
more than $100,000
Yes,
a year.
yes. I only had a couple that were over, that were under, and they were really close.
Yeah,
and I deleted
96.
some.
I should go back to working for the city, clearly.
There you go.
Clearly,
Patrick,
It didn't include city council, that's for sure.
where do we go from here?
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge my heroes of the week: Lynn Hertek, Charlie Miranda, Bill Carlson, Guido Maniscalco.
When
These-
Charlie Miranda and Bill Carlson vote together, you know something's going on.
Amen.
You know it's got to be bad.
Amen.
And so they stopped this, and they were under pressure. Mayor was calling these people while the meeting was going on.
Wow.
Oh, I was told there were last-minute pushes to try to
Sure.
achieve some kind of 11th-hour compromise. I have this from good
Absolutely.
sources.
Now, so I have to tell you, since there's voters out there, Gwen Henderson, Alan Clendenin, and Louis Vieira did not vote to.
They supported the mayor.
Well, they did. They voted against two of those voted against the mayor's budget. Only Henderson fully supported the mayor's budget.
Yes.
The others still wanted some sort of a tax increase. So those are heroes. When you go to vote next time, remember them, talk to them, find out if they can justify what they did. But very glad that this turned out the way it is, and I'm happy to put my back into it and find money for roads and push the CIT next year and things like that.
Agreed.
And that is a rather significant back. If you're taking score at home, when Patrick Manteiga leans in, boys and girls, you better sit up and pay attention. Patrick, you mentioned 1.9 billion. That was a figure that you threw out a little while ago. You know what else 1.9 billion might get you? Might buy you the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm just saying, if anybody's out there with 1.9 billion.
Yeah.
Patrick Montego, Stephanie Pointer, we so appreciate you coming down here and spending the morning with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And listen, Jason, thanks again for being at the board for us. We'd like to thank all of our callers, our emailers, and our texters today. Special thanks to Irene, our phone screener, who did a marvelous job. And on behalf of our engineer, Jason Marlowe, our co-host, John Dingfelder, I'm Mario Nunez saying salud and happy days. We want you to stay tuned now for The Skinny with Mitch Perry, Ray Roa, and Ben Montgomery. Have a terrific weekend, everybody. Thanks for listening.